Hi children, welcome to grade 5 English and this is our session 2 in chapter number 9 Androcles and the Lion. Children, before getting into our session, let's do an energizer. Children, we ate pizza for lunch. Pizza was eaten for lunch by students. What's the difference you find in the given sentences? Read the sentences carefully and you have to say what's the difference you can able to find in these sentences. Write your answers in your English note or rough note and you can share your answers with me in Google Classroom. And now, let's learn the concept connection, active and passive voice. In your concept book, page number 154, the verb in a sentence tell us about the action being done. It often tells us what the subject does. Sometimes, however, the verb tells us what is being done to the subject. Voice. Voice refer to the form of the verb that tell us whether the doer of an action is the subject or object in a sentence. Let us look at some examples. Sandeep ate an apple. Here Sandeep is the subject who performs the action of eating. Apple is the object here. The verb ate therefore is an active voice. An apple was eaten by Sandeep. In this sentence, the subject is an apple. However, the subject does not do the action but is the receiver of the action. Even though an apple is in the place of subject, it does not do any action but it only receives the action. The verb was eaten, therefore is in the passive voice. And now let us learn about active and passive voice. Children, I hope you are clear with what is voice. And now let's learn about active voice. We say that verb is in the active voice when the subject is the doer of an action. When the subject in the sentence is the doer of an action, we call it as active voice. Deepa wrote a story. Here Deepa is the subject as well as the doer of action wrote. Right? Because it was she who wrote the story. This sentence is in the active voice. The lion chased the antelope. Here the lion is the subject as well as the doer of an action. And now, children, are you all clear about active voice? Now we are moving on to passive voice. We say that the verb is in the passive voice when the subject and the doer of an action are different. The subject is the receiver of the action. Passive voice is nothing but when the subject and doer of the action are different. That is, the subject is the receiver of the action. We call it as passive voice. The sprinter finished the race. The chef cooked the fish. The artist illustrated the books. We all know these are all active voice, right? Now, the race was finished by the sprinter. The fish was cooked by the chef. The books were illustrated by the artist. Here, the race is in the place of subject, but it is only the receiver of an action. The action is done by the sprinter. And the fish, it's in the place of subject, but it does not do any action. It is the receiver of the action. And who does the action? The chef. And in the third sentence, the books, it's in the place of subject, but this does not do any action. The action is done by the artist. Okay. So, These sentences are in passive voice. Now, can you all understand this? For example, a story was written by Deepa. In this, a story is the subject, but the doer of action is Deepa. The antelope was chased by the lion. The antelope is now the subject, but it is what the sentence is telling us about. The verb was chased. Tell us what happened to the subject. The doer is the lion. And now, I hope you are clear about active voice and passive voice, right? And now let's learn the difference in active and passive voice. The difference between active and passive voice is whether the subject acts or is acted upon. In the passive voice, the subject of the sentence receives the action, whereas in the active voice, the subject of the sentence performs the action. For example, the essay was written by the student. The student wrote the essay. In the first sentence, which is in the passive voice, essay becomes the subject and is acted upon the object student. And in the second sentence, which is in the active voice, the student becomes the subject and acts upon the object, which is essay in this sentence. Clear? And in the passive voice, verbs such as be, am, is, were, was, were, or being, had been are used, followed with by. The visitors are often taken by their host to interesting places. The host often takes his visitors to interesting places. Sahil is being taken around the city by his relatives. His relatives are taking Sahil around the city. And now, let's do some class activity. Children, I hope you all are clear with the concept connection, active voice and passive voice, and also the difference between active and passive voice, right? And now, let's finish some questions related to the concept connection. Practice zone 2 in your concept book, page number 157. Write the following sentences in the active voice. Here they have given you some sentences and read the sentences carefully and change it into the active voice. And second question, write the following sentence in the passive voice. And 13th question, in your workbook, page number 37, children, based on your understanding of the text, that is the story, Androcles and the lion, you have to fill in the following information. You can take help from the internet or you can refer the book, okay? And finally, create your special twist to the story to change the ending and write it in the space provided. First one is setting. Setting means the place in which the story actually happened and the characters. What do you know about the characters in this story? That is Androcles, lion and king, and you have to write about them. And then the third one is changed ending. You have to change the ending of the story with your own twist, right? Yes. And children, I hope you enjoyed this session with me. Now let me tell you the home assignment part. In your workbook, page number 33, you have to complete first, second and third question, that is what you liked in the story, what you learned from the story, and you have to draw your favorite scene from the story. And then move on to 11th question, change the following sentences to the passive voice. Here they have given you some sentences, you have to change it into its passive voice. And 12th question, mark an A for sentences in the active voice and P for sentences in the passive voice. Then change the voice and rewrite the sentences. Children, first read the given sentences and if it is active voice, write A in the given box. And if it is passive voice, write P in the given box. And after that, you have to change. That is, you have to rewrite and change the voice of the given sentence. Clear? And after completing your class activity and home assignment, hand in your completed work in grade 5 English Google Classroom. Yes, children? Yes. And drink more water, eat healthy food, reduce your screen time, don't use mobile phone and television often, and give adequate rest to your eyes. Stay home and stay safe, children. Thank you so much.